Hi everyone, this is my Mythic Goroth tanking guide. Goroth is the first boss in Tomb of Sargeras, and let me just say this is not Scorpion. Most guilds, unless you're one of the top 200 guilds, is not going to walk in and just kill it. It's going to take some coordination, and I'm going to show you how to do that, at least from the tanking standpoint. Let's go over talents first, not PvP talents. For this fight, I recommend Abyssal Strike because there's a ton of movement and this makes that entire portion of the fight just super easy to do. And I'll show you the benefits in the actual video. Fallout is pretty much standard now just because more souls equals more Spirit Bomb. Flame Crash goes with Abyssal Strike. If you take Abyssal, you should take Flame Crash. Just syncs well together better, I guess you would say. Fracture is a must-have for the sigils, concentrated sigils, because it's more damage. You don't need Sigil of Chains, and quickened sigils is less damage than concentrated. So for the single target fight, concentrated sigils is better. 108 Spirit Bomb is mandatory. 110 you could go with any combinations here. Looking at the damage intake of our kill, 58.6% of all my damage was physical, so it is leaning towards physical damage. However, if you're going to die, it's probably going to be a burst of magic damage that kills you, and I'll go over that in the guide as well. With that being said, Demonic Infusion is still good to make sure you have Demon Spikes up the entire time you're tanking. Especially if you don't have the legendary legs, Demon Infusion is good. Soul Barrier would not be bad on this because there is a ton of magic damage, and again, if you're going to die, it's probably going to be due to Magic Burst. So Soul Barrier is not bad and would work fine. And Last Resort is one of those, if you're going to die, Last Resort is better to have so you don't die. If you don't die at all, this entire tier is wasted. So Demonic Infusion or Soul Barrier is what I recommend. Last Resort if you absolutely have to. Gear-wise, I used a DMC because of all the physical damage coming in. This helped a lot. Legendaries on the fight, I used Archimon's, Hatred Reborn, and I used the legs. I also used the 2-piece. Granted, I only have the normal 2-piece, but it still worked well. The 5% damage reduction is still really, really good. Other legendaries that I would recommend for the fight if you don't have these two. Pridus would be fine for a defensive legendary and a stat stick, so Pridus is good. Cloak of Fell Flames would actually not be bad in this fight. It's not needed, but it wouldn't be bad. So if you're worried about getting burst down to the magic period, you can use the Cloak of Fell Flames and you would be okay. If you want damage, you can always run with the belt. The boots would be okay, nothing great, because it's a single target fight and you're never really cleaving your Immolation aura. So this wouldn't be bad, but wouldn't be great. So it's an option. And other than that, I wouldn't recommend much else. Fragment of the Betrayer would be okay if you have nothing better, just for the leech. And that's really it. So I would say top tier is Trinket and Pants. Right underneath that I would say Cloak and Pridaz and Belt. Belt could be top tier if you only care about damage. And I would say just under that would be the feet for this fight. But this, again, is just my opinion. You may disagree with me, but that's how I see it. Consumables, I ran with the Agility Flask and the Agility Food. And I used Potion of Old War. Not Old, sorry, I used Pull on Powers, but Old Wars is good too for Burst. So either or. Defensively, you can always Stand Flask. It's not needed, but you could. And Unbending Potion if you need armor, but you really don't need it either. And that really concludes the intro, so let's go ahead and take a look at the video. Alright guys, so here we are. Positioning wise, we tank him right where he stands. There's these giant pools of fell lava around the room. The key is to keep an eye on that. We break down the room into 4 quadrants, X, diamond, and I forget what we put on this far other side. Those are mainly just used for markers when we're moving. I'm like, alright, I'm moving to X, or the giant circles that have to be soaked so you don't spawn a infernal. So we go like, alright, there's 3 at X, get to X, and everybody runs to X. So just marking the room into quadrants is a good idea. On the pull, I blow everything Fiery Brand into Immolate into Soul Carver, so the Fiery Demise normal rotation. I open up at Archma's Hatred Reborn before I hit 8 Demon Spikes. I want to make sure he pops my shield for damage, because it's just damage. Then I'll pop up Demon Spikes. So I'll go ahead and start the... Alright, so pull in, there we go, do my normal rotation. Just keep spamming Spirit Bomb, really. I want to get as many Spirit Bombs off in this time period, because almost right away is the debuff. So the first thing we're going to do is we have Infernal Slam, and with Abyssal Strike you have a lot more of them and you go farther. I normally don't jump out unless there are circles or people around me. Otherwise I just walk out. And I see that there's people over here. I see there's a soak circle here. So I know, okay, well I need to jump out of here so I don't hit anybody. And then I try to position myself and then jump right back. This is a weak aura that shows when you have the armor debuff. If you take any melee swings with this debuff, you're going to get one shot every time. And everything, all the damage you take is increased by 300%. So when people break the pillars, you take 3 times that damage. So before mitigation, it's 1.2 million per pillar. So the goal here is to break no pillars at all besides with the boulder. And then you want to use the boulder to break 3 pillars. With this debuff, you cannot soak any Fallen Infernals either. Alright, so what's going to happen here is we see a boulder coming out, and the off tank just got the debuff, and DBM tells me to taunt. But if you taunt right now, you're going to get smacked in one shot. You have to pause for about a second before you can taunt. I died the first night we started doing this. I died like 2 times until I realized what was happening. You just have to wait. I'll put the weak aura in the comments below. It just makes it easier, and you don't accidentally lose track of the debuff. So you wait until it's gone and then you taunt. There it is. And then since I'm tanking with a bear, bears are kind of slow. So I know he's going to be moving this direction, and he's going to do it in a not very quick speed. So what I'm going to do is turn the boss this direction so I can move away from his circle as he's moving the circle out. Like so. A boulder is going to happen, and if you have the debuff like the tank does, we throw external cooldowns on whatever tank has the debuff when the boulder goes out. And then it also pop empowered wards. The whole idea is the only time if you don't break any pillars early like you're not supposed to, this is going to break 3 of them, and you can take 3 times the damage. External cooldowns are huge. Like this time we use a bark skin on the off tank. Other than that, at this point, we're just going to DPS, stay away from all the circles on the ground. Alright, so the first Infernal Burning is going to happen. You just got to get behind a pillar, but look where the fire is. With this fire, if it moves any more, it's going to break these pillars. So ideally, I would jump to this spike, but I was in a hurry, and I saw this one should be okay, so I jumped to that one instead. And then you LOS it. And as soon as this goes off, if you're the first tank, you're going to get the debuff right away. So you're going to go in, get the debuff, and jump out. So I didn't blow any of my cooldowns because I knew I was going to get that debuff.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, I normally would open with a Fiery Brand and start my DPS rotation again. But the problem is if you look at the threat meter, I'm about ready to pull threat. And a few attempts before this, I did pull threat. And if you pull threat, you're going to get one shot. So you have to be wary of your off tank. If he's not DPSing very hard, like my off tank wasn't at this point, you have to slow down, because if you pull threat, you're dead. So because of that, I'm going to hold back Fiery Brand. And I'm going to do my normal DPS rotation while watching my threat. Oh, by the way, if you look here, fire starts to come out on the side where you see the bubbles. So what you should be doing is looking where the lava is bubbling and move the boss away. Normally just move between these 2 positions you saw at the beginning. I see it says a taunt, but if I did, I'd die, so you gotta wait. Now taunt. Now I did my fiery brand and went to my fiery demise rotation.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Boulder's coming, so we throw an external on the off tank because he has the debuff. Alright, so I see lava coming out. I'm going to jump to the other side of the room.
4,
With this debuff, keep in mind if there's any pillars in your circle when it explodes, it's going to kill the pillar. The pillar's going to do a ton of damage to you. So make sure that there's no pillars in your circle. Also, it is wise to use empowered wards when you go out. If you're not topped off, like I'm not, you should pop empowered wards.
2, 1.
And this one's kind of crazy because if this blows up at the same time a Infernal Burning is happening. So this is where your Abyssal Strike comes into play. So I'm way far away. He's already casting Infernal Burning. He's like 3 seconds away. I'm going to leap out of here. And since I have the debuff and I'm not topped off, I know I need to get to my healers or I'm going to die during this burning. So I do something risky as hell. Right there, I make an extra jump, hoping I was going to make it, and I just did, and I still almost died. So when you have this debuff, you're going to take an increased amount of fire damage. So this is why Soul Bearer could be good at this point, and also why the Cloak could be good, because if you're going to die, it's going to be because of one-shots. Now, my debuff's coming off. That means I can soak in these drops. You can solo soak it. It is fire damage, but you'll almost die if you do. I highly recommend 2 to 3 people to stand in it. And we were wiping initially because not enough people are standing in it, so we made it mandatory that all DPS, range, or melee has to get into a circle every time. So I'm going to wait, debuff is off, taunt, and then I'm going to soak the circle. I have solo soaked him before, by the way. It's just, it can get kind of sketchy if you don't use Fire Rebrand and other cooldowns.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Another boulder, so we're going to do another cooldown on the off tank. We should be. They didn't do it. They should have done it.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Other than this, you just watch your threat and you just keep DPSing. And anytime a boulder goes out, you want to use Empowered Wards. Whenever Infernal Burning happens and you have the debuff, use Empowered Wards. This is really the entire fight, guys. It's what's the word? It's not hard, except you have to be perfect and flawless with a lot of this execution, or you and or other people will die.
3, 2, 1.
I'm looking around for the fire, see if I have to move. I just got the debuff, I need to get out. I don't have to jump out, so I save it. Alright, so I'm calling for an external now. I didn't get one. I gotta talk to my healers after this video.
Four,
3,
3, 2,
2,
1.
1.
Alright, so all this is happening. Go back in. Got a taunt right away. And I have to move him, but I have to make sure I don't go near the off tank and his armor debuff, because it will kill me. It will give me the debuff and then I will die. So. And that's it. You just got to do this rotation for about 7 to 8 minutes. And try not to lose that many people in the process. We see right there, we can see the lava is boiling, so we know the fire is coming behind me.
Four, 3, 2, 1.
4, 3,
Yeah, guys, this is the entire fight.
1.
There isn't much to it. Oh, side note. Some of these is going to happen where the tank gets the debuff the same exact time he does an Infernal Burning. And as a DH, you should be okay. But every other class, except maybe Monk, will not be okay. So how we need to do this is the off tank, you see the circle over here, should be running as close as he can to the pillar without going into the pillar. And then as soon as it explodes, there should be a priest who life grips him over. That's how it should work.
2,
See right there, he
1.
exploded right here, and the circle was only right here. He could have moved it another 10 yards. So the distance he has to cover right now is quite large. And he died, because he was not in position. I popped meta just to make sure we didn't wipe at the end here.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And that's it. That's the entire fight, guys. Like I said, this fight isn't hard, but it's also not Scorpion. Your entire group, your DPS, your healers, the tanks, have to do their job every time, or you're going to start losing people. There's going to be attrition over the course of the fight, and it's going to become not possible to kill him. And that happened to us for far too long that I don't even want to admit how long it took us to kill this boss, because it's not hard. But you just got to be perfect. You have to do the mechanics. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I'll get to them as soon as I can. If you like the video, please like or subscribe, and thank you for watching.